What's up? This is K Flay, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Finally with K Flay, because I tried to catch you on Warped Tour back in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
But your schedule was crazy then.
Yeah, I was probably just so hot I couldn't think straight. Yeah, it was very hot, but also a lot of fun.
What did you get from that experience of that tour? Because that tour is so different from anything else that you would do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for me, once I had a bit of time to look back upon that experience, I think the biggest thing was, as a performer, you can't rely on any vibe elements. Like, there's no lighting, it's bright out, it's hot as fuck, like everything. And so I think it really forces you to focus on the performance, the basic, I guess sort of foundational things of the show. And for me, that was really helpful to sort of reimagine the show in that way. That at the end of the day, if you strip something down, it should still feel and sound compelling.
Right. And aside from just the show, I mean, how did that really affect the way that you tour today?
It just, every time I'm not really hot, I'm happy. I'm grateful. Even now, it's a bit warm in here, but it was just, I think physically it's a brutal tour, and I have friends who've done it many years, and they're just such road warriors. I think it was, it helped the toughening process, which was already in full effect, but.
That's cool. Now, right now, you just kicked off your Crush Me tour because of the EP that just recently dropped. This EP, you went to Tennessee to work on it. So how different was this experience for you going in to record this EP?
I think it was the first, it's my first real concerted project since my last record, and I don't know, I just felt really ready to get these songs out and to finish them, and really, really motivated in that process. And the producer that I've been working on a lot of this stuff with is based out in Nashville, and so it's nice. I think for me, I do better creatively in an isolated environment. So it was, I think, very helpful to be out in the countryside, because the studio itself is about 30 minutes outside of the city.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you're
it's
really secluded.
Yeah, and it's next to a cemetery, and there's some animals around, and there were a bunch of frogs when I was there a couple weeks ago. But it feels very separate from everything else that's happening, and I think for me that was a helpful headspace to be in.
Now, have you recorded there before, or this is the first time that you actually experienced recording out there?
So I started recording out there last winter, and a bunch of that is now the EP. Some of it will be on the record. Right. Just kind of my attitude once I got off the road last December, for I had a month or so of just some downtime to write and record, was let me just make as many things as I can without knowing exactly if it's going to be a EP, a record, singles. And just
regardless, you were writing for both at the same time.
Yeah. And I write a lot of stuff, so there's a lot of stuff.
Right. Now, you've been in the game for quite some time already. So how do you feel you've progressed as a writer today?
I think I'm a lot more focused.
Okay.
I try to be a bit more tough on myself when it comes to really choosing words wisely, and that doesn't always mean being super clever or whatever, but just not thinking my first idea or my first inclination is always my best one, because sometimes it is, and some songs are just like that, it's supernatural.
Yeah.
But sometimes even there's a song on this EP called Dreamers that was different. I mean, it was very similar in certain ways, but the second verse and the third verse were totally different, and I kind of went back and was I can probably do better. I can push myself to do something better than that. And I think a couple of years ago I would have just been okay, done.
Now, that being said, though, do you see yourself reconstructing a lot of songs over and over again?
No. There have been a few songs for the record that have been reworked and reimagined, but I think all in a good spirit, not the constant tinkering. Yeah. I feel I'm good at saying okay, this is done.
Yeah. Now, with this producer, how did he really challenge you this time around?
I think, his name's JT Daley. He and I have a really great working relationship in that he's an artist too, so he understands like kind of that side of things and needing time and maybe like 2 months to finish a lyric or whatever the case may be. I think JT's been really good at pushing me to be comfortable in a really emotional space and like take it there and not be afraid to. Which I haven't really historically been super afraid, but he's definitely like pushed me in that direction too. And it's a very like safe, positive environment to make music in. So It's just, I think it promotes that naturally.
So with this EP, what have you been most excited about? Aside from obviously releasing it and having the fans hear it, but what is it about this EP that you're most excited about?
I think it just sets the stage for the next body of work. I'm feeling very focused, I think, creatively at the moment, like very attuned to the thing that I'm enjoying making right now, because for me, I've always been, in between a lot of genres, and there's a lot of different elements of things, but I'm feeling good about having a direction that makes sense to me. Yeah. So the EP does kind of feels like a nice introduction to that direction. And, and if people are digging it, then it makes me just like even more excited to put out the full length.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you've had experiences doing some collaborations with various artists, just like you said. You've been going with different like genres. Mm-hmm. So you've gone from Danny Brown to like now recently I've been hearing a lot about this new. I guess they're not that new, but their name is starting to pop out. Louis the Child, mm-hmm. And you've done stuff with them too. So how do these different collaborations really help you in your artistry?
Well, they've all come about really organically, so there hasn't been any like, I'm going to do this to, it's just sort of like I've met people and we've connected on a creative level, and then, with the Louis Child thing, we didn't even know each other. They just hit me up on Twitter. I listened to their stuff, and they were, super talented, and I was actually just texting with them. They're very nice guys as well. Yeah. And, and then I heard this little part of what became the song It's Strange, and I was like, I have an idea for this, and I just recorded it at my house and sent it. And then, we sort of had a back and forth. But I think for me, a collaboration like that is just an opportunity to exercise a different part of like my own creative brain. Mm-hmm. And it's just a way to be a part of, I think, the music community, because some collaborations are just friendships, some collaborations are business, actual creative things, and some are business. So like, it's I feel like it's at this point, it feels like it's just sort of part of being a musician. Like there's so much collaboration that happens.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Now with Danny Brown, you got a little bit of your verses out on that one. I think that one was the most different that you've done. But tell me about that experience for you.
Well, that song went through kind of all these weird different iterations, which was cool, and then it ended up with the collaboration, which was, again, it kind of kept taking all these twists and turns with some different people contributing. But yeah, for me that song was, there's a part of me that very much enjoys that kind of like sort of noisy rap, like weirdo thing. Right. So it's super fun for me.
Yeah, you were definitely in your element for that one.
Yeah, and we're playing it on this tour, and it's really, I've played it many times before, but it's like super fun for me.
Right. Now you're on a different label. Mm-hmm. You're actually on a label with one of my favorite artists, Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons. How did that really come about for you, and what has that been like for you now that you've experienced other labels before?
It's been great. I think basically Dan heard the demos that I had been working on, and he and I started a dialogue, and he told me about what he wanted to do, and I think on a creative and personality standpoint, we hit it off. And his imperative is to help to create a platform to get mine, and then in the future other artists' music into the world, and be a resource, but never be an inhibiting, always be someone who can help facilitate things. Right. And that's exactly how it's been. I mean, it's great to have someone on your side who just feels like a champion, but who also has obviously like amazing talent and a wealth of experience. So it's great. Dan's the best. Was
that a scary thought though, being the first artist that he's ever like signed and worked with?
Oddly, no. Not at all.
You were just ready to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot, you know, and we met with everybody. We met with the team at Interscope and kind of talked about how it would go. And I had been independent on my last record and felt pretty comfortable in that environment, how we were operating, and felt really fulfilled by that. So, you know, I sort of told them, you know, if we can retain that autonomy and that freedom of the DIY spirit a bit, you know, but have a platform to reach more people, to me that's kind of the ultimate win.
Right. Now, the tour just kicked off yesterday in San Diego. Sold out in San Diego. I think it's sold out here tonight, and there's a couple other shows that have been sold out. But what's so different about this tour from the previous tours that you've actually put together?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like every tour is a level above the last one. For me, I feel like we're putting on a little bit more of a cohesive show, which is cool because oftentimes, like, I haven't had the resources to do that,
right.
And the collaborators and crew. But yeah, I feel like it's a good one.
Is this what you've been wanting as part of the tour?
Totally. I mean, you know, my goal always is to create like as positive and enjoyable a live experience for people as I can, and that's, you know, we have like awesome opening acts throughout the whole tour. Like, I think the whole night is just a really
I definitely like the lineup.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, really stoked to have them on board.
Yeah, that was definitely a good choice. Last night I was talking to this artist from London, and I don't even remember how we came about talking about some of our favorite artists, and he was mentioning like he gets excited when he works with a band, Prodigy. And you've actually had experience with Liam a few years back. I think he produced for you one of your EPs. How different is it working with an artist that's not from the States, that have a different kind of like demographic? Does that change anything at all for you?
Well, I think in my experience, a lot of UK producers, there's less genre concern and anxiety in the UK, I think, as a consequence of just like radio formats, in that it's not the way it is in the US, like it's not so segregated. So I think, you know, with regard to Liam, he comes from like, there's elements that are just like super electronic, super metal, like drum and bass, like all, you know, all of these influences that don't ever seem to come into conflict with one another. So working with him was cool because a lot of times people are like, well, is this too indie or is this too, and that was never really even a concern. So for me, it was a really nice thing because I've always, you know, been in those lanes.
Yeah, exactly. You've dabbled on everything.
Yeah.
Now, to close us off, the EP is out now. Why should the fans go out there and pick it up? Like, what's so different this time around from K Flay?
I think it's some of the best stuff I've made, and I feel really proud of it. And I think from like an emotional and lyric level, you know, I really worked hard to make this something that certainly meant something to me, and I hope means something to other people too.